My fiancé made me pay for her entire dream wedding, then married someone else. If someone had told me a year ago that I would spend nearly $85,000 on a wedding where I wasn't even the groom, I would have laughed in their face. Now I wish someone had. My name is Daniel. I'm 32, and until recently I thought I'd found the woman I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Her name was Olivia. We'd been together for almost 4 years. She was funny, outgoing, ambitious, and somehow managed to make everyone around her believe she was the sweetest person they'd ever met. My family loved her. My friends thought I had won the relationship lottery. So did I. Looking back now, the warning signs were always there. I just didn't want to see them. When we first started dating, Olivia constantly talked about building a future together. She'd send me photos of beautiful houses, luxury vacations, designer furniture, massive engagement rings. At the time, I thought she was just dreaming out loud. I never imagined those dreams always came with my credit card attached. 2 years into our relationship, I proposed. She cried. Her parents cried. My mother cried. Even I got emotional. It felt like everything in my life had finally fallen into place. 3 weeks later, wedding planning officially began. And that's when everything changed. I've been dreaming about this day since I was 12, Olivia said one evening while scrolling through Pinterest. I only get married once. I smiled. Then, let's make it unforgettable. Those words would end up costing me more money than I'd ever imagined. Originally, we'd agreed on a modest wedding. Around 100 guests. A nice venue. Simple decorations. Reasonable budget. Within 2 months, everything had doubled. Actually, tripled. She wanted a castle instead of a ballroom. A designer dress instead of a boutique one. Imported flowers. A live orchestra. Ice sculptures. A custom cake flown in from another state. Every week there was something new. Babe, it's only another 3,000. Babe, everyone has a photo booth now. Babe, I don't want people saying our wedding looked cheap. Every sentence started with "it's only," until "only" became thousands. I kept telling myself, she's right. This is our big day. Money comes back. Memories don't. I picked up overtime shifts, sold my motorcycle, cashed out part of an investment account I'd been saving for years. My father even offered to help. I refused. I want to do this myself, I told him. I want to give her everything. He smiled proudly. I raised a good man. Those words still hurt. Because being a good man doesn't protect you from bad people. About 6 months before the wedding, something strange started happening. Olivia became distant. Not cold. Just unavailable. She was suddenly working late 3 or 4 nights every week. Always tired. Always on her phone. If I walked into the room unexpectedly, she'd quickly lock the screen. I noticed. But every explanation sounded reasonable. It's wedding stress. My boss is impossible. My bridesmaids keep changing their minds. I believed every word. Because when you trust someone completely, your brain fights against evidence. One evening, I offered to drive her home from work. She answered almost immediately. No. The response surprised both of us. I mean, I'm grabbing dinner with the girls. Her smile looked forced. Again. I ignored it. Wedding planning became a full-time job. Deposits. Meetings. Cake tastings. Venue visits. Guest lists. Every spare moment revolved around making Olivia happy. And she always found something else that needed upgrading. Then came the honeymoon. Originally, we planned 5 days in Hawaii. She changed it. I've always wanted Italy. Then, actually, Greece too. Then, can we stop in Paris? By the time she finished planning, our honeymoon looked more expensive than most people's yearly salary. I should have said no. Instead, I booked everything. One Friday night, I came home earlier than expected after my meeting was canceled. The apartment was empty. Olivia texted me. Working late, Red. Nothing unusual. I ordered pizza. Turned on Netflix. About an hour later, my phone buzzed. It was my friend Marcus. Hey, random question. Is Olivia still working at the marketing office downtown? I frowned. Yeah, why? His reply came almost instantly. Weird. I could have sworn I just saw her getting into a black Mercedes outside the Grand Regent Hotel. I stared at the message, then laughed to myself. There had to be another explanation. Right. I typed back. Probably a client meeting. Marcus answered. Yeah. Probably. But something about that conversation stayed with me. For the first time in years. A tiny voice inside my head whispered, what if you're wrong? And I had absolutely no idea that this was only the beginning of the biggest betrayal of my life. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about Marcus' message. Not because I believed Olivia was cheating. Because I didn't. I trusted her completely. Still, whenever something doesn't make sense, your mind quietly starts collecting little pieces you ignored before. The late nights. The locked phone. The sudden obsession with looking perfect every time she worked overtime. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was becoming paranoid because of wedding stress. That's what I kept telling myself. Until Monday. I decided to surprise Olivia with lunch. She loved the little Italian cafe across from her office. I picked up her favorite pasta, 2 coffees, and drove downtown. I walked into the lobby smiling. The receptionist looked confused. Can I help you? I'm here for Olivia. She frowned. Olivia Carter. Yeah. She took today off. I blinked. Today. She requested personal leave last week. I forced a smile. Oh. Must have forgotten to tell me. No problem. I carried the food back to my car. My hands were shaking slightly. She hadn't mentioned taking the day off. Not once. I checked my phone. At 10:14 that morning, she texted me. Busy day, already weary face, wish me luck. Busy day. At work. Except, she wasn't there. I almost called her. Instead, I drove home. The entire ride, I kept creating excuses for her. Maybe she had a dentist appointment. Maybe wedding planning. Maybe a surprise for me. People lie about little things sometimes. It didn't have to mean anything. That evening, she came home around 8. She kissed me. Long day. I smiled. How was work? She sighed dramatically. Horrible. My boss kept changing everything. I barely had time to eat. Then she started describing meetings that apparently never happened. I just nodded. Listening. Watching. For the first time in 4 years. I caught her lying. And she did it effortlessly. The next week, another strange thing happened. We were meeting with the wedding venue manager. The final payment was due. Nearly $22,000. The manager smiled politely. Everything is almost ready. Olivia clapped excitedly. This is going to be perfect. Then the manager looked at me. By the way, your fiancé already upgraded the premium package yesterday. I frowned. Upgraded? Olivia froze. The manager continued. Yes. The gold chairs, luxury champagne service, imported floral arrangements. It added another 11,000. Silence. I slowly turned toward Olivia. You already approved that. She laughed nervously. I wanted it to be a surprise. A good surprise. $11,000. A surprise. I wanted to be angry. Instead, I just felt tired. We talked about sticking to the budget. I know. But we'll earn more money. It's just money. Just money. Easy to say when it wasn't coming from her savings. I paid the invoice. Again. Driving home, I barely spoke. She noticed. You've been acting weird lately. Weird. You seem suspicious. I almost laughed. Suspicious. I'm just stressed. She reached over and squeezed my hand. I promise. When we're married, it'll all be worth it. Those words stayed in my head. When we're married. A week later, Marcus called me again. You busy? Not really. I need to ask you something. His voice sounded serious. Remember what I told you about the hotel? Yeah. I saw them again. My stomach tightened. Them. Olivia. And the same guy. This time. He had photos. Not kissing. Not holding hands. But definitely together. Standing outside an expensive restaurant. Laughing. She looked. Comfortable. Too comfortable. Marcus texted them to me. I stared at the screen for several minutes. Then I zoomed in. The man looked familiar. Late 40s. Expensive watch. Tailored suit. Luxury car. I couldn't place him. But I'd definitely seen him before. When Olivia got home that night, I didn't mention the photos. Instead, I asked casually, So, who's your biggest client these days? Without missing a beat, she answered, Some boring software company. What about the owner? I've never met him. Lie. Another one. Because the man in Marcus' photo had his arm resting comfortably on the small of her back. That wasn't a first meeting. That wasn't business. And for the first time, I stopped asking myself whether Olivia was hiding something. Instead, I started asking how much I really wanted to know. Because deep down, I was terrified the truth would destroy everything I'd spent 4 years building. The next morning, I called in sick. Not because I was ill, because I needed answers. For the first time since we got engaged, I wasn't planning another wedding meeting. I was planning to find out whether the woman I loved was lying to my face. At 8:15 a.m., Olivia kissed me goodbye. I'll probably work late again. I smiled. Good luck. The second the front door closed, I grabbed my keys. I stayed several cars behind her, all the way across town. She wasn't driving toward her office. She wasn't even heading downtown. Instead, she pulled into the parking lot of an upscale hotel I'd only ever seen in magazines. The Grand Regent. The same hotel Marcus had mentioned. I parked across the street. 5 minutes later, a black Mercedes rolled in. The same one from Marcus' photos. The driver stepped out. Tall. Well-dressed. Confident. He looked to be around 50. Olivia smiled the moment she saw him. Not the polite smile she gave coworkers. Not the smile she gave waiters. The smile she used to give me. He hugged her. A little too long. Then they walked inside together. I sat frozen behind the steering wheel. Part of me wanted to storm into the hotel. Another part desperately hoped there was still some innocent explanation. Maybe they were discussing work. Maybe he was a client. Maybe. My phone buzzed. It was Olivia. Meeting all morning, weary face. I stared at the message. She had sent it while walking into a luxury hotel with another man. For the first time, I didn't make excuses. I drove away. I couldn't breathe. That evening, she came home carrying takeout. My meeting went so well. She sounded cheerful. I even brought your favorite sushi. I looked at her. Really looked at her. She smiled exactly the same. Acted exactly the same. Lied exactly the same. Everything okay? She asked. Yeah. I'm just tired. She kissed my forehead. You work too hard. The irony almost made me laugh. Over the next 2 weeks, I stopped confronting. I started observing. Patterns appeared almost immediately. Every Tuesday and Friday. She worked late. Every Tuesday and Friday. The Merceds appeared. Sometimes the hotel. Sometimes expensive restaurants. Sometimes parks. Always the same man. Always smiling. Then I made the mistake of looking through our finances. At first, I wanted to calculate how much the wedding had cost. Instead, I found something much worse. Almost every major payment had come from me. Venue. Dress. Flowers. Photography. Entertainment. Honeymoon. Jewelry. Even her bridal spa package. Meanwhile, her own account barely changed. I quietly checked our shared budgeting spreadsheet. Her salary was being deposited every month, but almost none of it went toward the wedding. Where was it going? I didn't know. Yet, one Saturday afternoon, Olivia announced she was spending the day with her maid of honor. We're doing wedding shopping. Don't wait up. I smiled. Have fun. An hour later, Marcus called. I think your fiancé's shopping looks expensive. What do you mean? I just saw her. She's getting into a yacht. A yacht. With hotel guy. I closed my eyes. Marcus sent another picture. There they were. Standing together on the deck. Champagne glasses. Laughing. No distance between them anymore. No pretending. No business. Just two people clearly enjoying each other's company. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Something inside me simply stopped. That evening, Olivia came home carrying shopping bags. You wouldn't believe how much bridesmaid dresses cost. She rolled her eyes dramatically. Then she held up a small gift box. I bought you something. Inside was an expensive watch. I know you've been working so hard. I wanted to thank you. I looked at the watch. Then at her. She had probably bought it using money I'd indirectly given her. Do you like it? She asked. It's beautiful. She smiled proudly. Mission accomplished. She thought everything was normal. 3 days later, something unexpected happened. I received a phone call from the wedding planner. Daniel. I just wanted to confirm tomorrow's tasting appointment. Tasting. Yes. For you, Olivia. And Mr. Harrison. Silence. I'm sorry. Who? Mr. Harrison. I assumed he was family. He's attended every planning meeting with Olivia this month. Every planning meeting. I never missed one. Or at least, I thought I hadn't. After hanging up, I checked my calendar. Every meeting she'd told me had been canceled. Had apparently happened. Without me. With him. I finally searched his name online. Richard Harrison. Real estate developer. Multimillionaire. Recently divorced. Featured in several business magazines. I stared at his photo. The same man. The Mercedes. The yacht. The hotel. Then I noticed something that made my stomach twist. One article included a picture from a charity gala. Standing beside Richard was Olivia. The article described her as his companion for the evening. The photo had been taken almost 3 months before our wedding. And somehow, I was only just beginning to understand that I wasn't paying for our future. I was financing someone else's love story. I didn't sleep that night. Every answer I found only created 10 more questions. Why was Olivia attending wedding meetings with another man? Why was she lying about work? Why was she letting me pay for everything while hiding thousands of dollars? Most importantly, who exactly was Richard Harrison to her? The next morning, I made a decision. No more guessing. I hired a private investigator. It felt ridiculous, like something out of a movie. But if I confronted Olivia now, she'd simply lie. I needed facts. 3 days later, the investigator called. I have something you'll want to see. My heart was pounding as I walked into his office. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were dozens of photographs. Olivia and Richard leaving restaurants, walking through parks, shopping together, holding hands. Then, the photo that finally destroyed every remaining illusion. They were kissing. Not a quick kiss. Not something that could be explained away. A real kiss. The kind two people share when they're completely in love. I stared at the picture for nearly a minute. The investigator remained silent. Finally, he spoke. They've been seeing each other for at least 6 months. 6 months. Half our engagement. There's more. He opened another folder. I followed them yesterday. More pictures. This time, they weren't at a hotel. They were looking at houses. Luxury houses. The kind worth several $1,000,000. Richard had his arm around her shoulders, while a realtor walked ahead of them. They looked like a married couple. Not like two people having an affair. Not like a businessman and his assistant. Like they were planning a future. I swallowed hard. Did you learn anything else? He nodded. They've introduced each other to friends. They don't hide their relationship. I frowned. What? They act like a normal couple. They only seem careful around your neighborhood. Suddenly everything clicked. She wasn't hiding him. She was hiding me. I wasn't her future. I was her backup plan. Or maybe her bank account. That evening, Olivia walked through the front door humming happily. You'll never guess what happened today. I forced a smile. What? The florist upgraded our arrangements for free. Really? Well, I may have charmed them a little. She laughed. I almost asked, did Richard pay for it? Instead, I stayed quiet. Over the next week, I became someone I barely recognized. I smiled. I laughed. I discussed seating charts, cake flavors, wedding music. Every conversation felt like acting. Meanwhile, I quietly gathered documents, invoices, contracts, bank statements, every receipt with my name on it. The total made me sick. Almost $84,700. Nearly every dollar had come from me. Then something unexpected happened. Richard called me. Not directly. Through my office. Mr. Harrison, is interested in partnering with your company." I almost laughed out loud. He didn't even know who I was. Or maybe he did. Maybe he simply thought I was another vendor, another useful person. I declined the meeting. The receptionist later told me he sounded surprised. Good. A few days later, Olivia suggested we have dinner together. We haven't had a proper date in forever. She smiled warmly. I miss you. For a second, I almost believed her. We went to one of our favorite restaurants. Halfway through dinner, she reached across the table. I've been thinking. After the wedding, we should start trying for a baby. I nearly dropped my fork. A baby. With me. While secretly planning a life with another man. I looked into her eyes, searching for even a hint of guilt. There was none. Only confidence. Confidence that I would never discover the truth. I'd like that, I lied. She smiled. I knew you'd say yes. Then she excused herself to go to the restroom. The moment she disappeared, her phone buzzed on the table. Normally, I would have looked away. This time, I didn't. The screen lit up. Richard read. One preview message. Can't wait until this fake wedding is over. My heart stopped. Another message appeared. Then you'll finally be mine. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't unlock it. I didn't need to. Because those 2 notifications had already told me everything. The wedding wasn't real. At least, not to her. I was simply paying for the performance. And for the first time since this nightmare began. I smiled. Because Olivia thought she was fooling me. She had no idea that I was already planning something she would never forget. For the next 2 weeks, I became the perfect fiancée. I smiled in every wedding photo. I answered every planning email. I nodded through conversations about flowers, music, and honeymoon destinations. Olivia thought everything was under control. She had no idea I had already canceled almost everything. Quietly, legally, without telling her. The venue changed to a refundable contract. The luxury decorations canceled. The honeymoon refunded. The live band canceled. Every payment that could be recovered was already back in my account. The only things I left untouched were the invitations, because I wanted everyone to show up, including Richard. Meanwhile, my private investigator kept working. One Friday morning, he called again. I found something interesting. What is it? Richard isn't just dating your fiancée. He proposed to her. I froze. And what? They've been looking at engagement rings. He thinks she's single. That surprised me. You mean? He doesn't know about me. The investigator shook his head. I don't think so. According to people around him, Olivia told everyone her ex-fiancé became abusive and they broke up months ago. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because somehow, she'd managed to invent an entirely different life. To Richard, I didn't exist anymore. To me, she still came home every night pretending to love me. That evening, she kissed me on the cheek. Only 3 weeks until the wedding. I can't wait. Neither could I. A few days later, something happened that changed everything. Marcus called again. You need to get downtown. Now. What happened? I just saw Olivia and Richard. So, they're buying wedding rings. I drove there immediately. Keeping my distance, I watched through the jewelry store window. Richard slipped a diamond ring onto Olivia's finger. She threw her arms around him. Then, She kissed him, long enough that everyone inside started clapping. The staff thought they had just witnessed a proposal. They had. Just not the one I was paying for. I quietly took a picture. Then another. Then another. Those photos joined the growing folder on my laptop. I called my lawyer that afternoon. I need to protect myself. We spent 3 hours going over everything. The house. The savings. The wedding contracts. Thankfully, we weren't married yet. Legally, walking away would be much easier. Still, there was one thing left to do. The wedding itself. 3 days before the ceremony, Olivia became emotional. I've been thinking. She rested her head on my shoulder. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I almost admired how convincing she was. Almost. You've always believed in me. You've always taken care of me. I'll spend the rest of my life making you happy. If only she knew. There wasn't going to be a marriage. The wedding day finally arrived. The venue looked incredible. Nearly 200 guests filled the room. Friends, family, coworkers, even people from Olivia's side I had never met. Everyone smiled. Everyone congratulated us. Richard arrived 10 minutes before the ceremony, wearing a tailored navy suit, holding a gift. He looked confused, probably wondering why Olivia hadn't answered his messages all morning. The ushers welcomed him inside anyway. He had no idea whose wedding he was attending. Perfect. I watched from another room through the security cameras we'd installed for the live stream. Olivia spotted Richard. For half a second, pure panic flashed across her face. Then she forced another smile. She thought she could still control the situation. She was wrong. The music began. Guests stood. Olivia walked down the aisle, looking absolutely stunning. People started crying, taking photos, smiling. She reached me. The officiant smiled warmly. We're gathered here today. I raised my hand. Actually, I have something I'd like to say first. The room fell silent. Olivia looked confused. What are you doing? I picked up a remote control from the podium. Behind us, the giant projector screen came to life. And the very first image that appeared was Olivia kissing Richard outside the Grand Regent Hotel. The entire room gasped. Olivia's face instantly turned white. Richard slowly stood up from his seat, looking from the screen to Olivia, then finally to me. And in that exact moment, everyone realized this wasn't going to be a wedding. It was going to be something else entirely. For several seconds, no one moved. No one even breathed. The first photo remained frozen on the massive screen behind us. Olivia, Richard, kissing outside the Grand Regent Hotel. Then another photo appeared. The yacht. Another. Holding hands in the park. Another. Looking at engagement rings. Then the final one. Richard sliding a diamond ring onto Olivia's finger. The silence inside the venue was deafening. What the hell is this? Richard finally asked. His voice echoed through the ballroom. Olivia immediately burst into tears. It's not what it looks like. I almost laughed. She really chose the oldest excuse in history. I looked toward the guests. My name is Daniel. I've spent the last year planning this wedding. I've also spent the last month discovering that my fiancé has been living 2 completely different lives. Gasps spread through the room. Olivia grabbed my arm. Stop. Please. You don't understand. I gently pulled away. No. I understand perfectly. I clicked the remote again. The screen now showed screenshots of messages. Richard read, "Can't wait until this fake wedding is over." Another, "Then you'll finally be mine." Another, "Bank statements, invoices, every payment for the wedding, every payment made from my account." Then a simple spreadsheet. Wedding expenses paid by Daniel, $84,700. Paid by Olivia, $2,150. People started whispering. Someone in the back actually said, "She used him." Richard slowly walked toward the altar. He looked completely lost. He turned to Olivia. "What fake wedding?" She couldn't answer. "What does he mean?" Still silence. Richard's face changed. He pulled his own phone from his pocket. I thought you told me your fiancé became abusive. I thought you said the wedding had been canceled months ago." The room exploded with shocked voices. Olivia started crying harder. "I can explain." Richard shook his head. "No. You've been living with him this entire time." She didn't answer. Richard looked at me. I'm so sorry." I nodded. "I don't think you knew." I didn't." He looked absolutely devastated. Then he quietly removed the engagement ring from his pocket. The one he'd planned to officially give her after our fake wedding. He placed it on the gift table. "I don't marry liars." Then he walked out. Without looking back. The ballroom remained completely silent. Olivia suddenly turned toward me. "This is your fault." There it is. The real Olivia. "No," I answered calmly. "You made every choice yourself. You lied. You cheated. You let me pay for everything. You planned another future while pretending to build one with me." She screamed. "You embarrassed me." Several guests actually laughed. My best man muttered, "You embarrassed yourself." Her parents looked horrified. Her mother quietly sat down and covered her face. Her father walked over to me. I had no idea." "I'm sorry." I simply nodded. There wasn't anything left to say. The officiant slowly closed his book. "I suppose there won't be a ceremony today." That finally broke the tension. People began leaving. Some quietly hugged me. Others avoided Olivia entirely. Within 20 minutes, nearly 200 guests were gone. The reception hall that had cost tens of thousands of dollars was almost empty. Only Olivia remained, standing alone in her wedding dress, exactly as she'd left me emotionally weeks earlier. Alone. My phone buzzed. It was my lawyer. Everything recorded. Every second. Perfect. I smiled. The venue manager approached. "Mr. Daniel, we've been informed about the cancellations you requested. Everything refundable has already been processed. Approximately $78,000 will return to your account within 5 business days." Olivia heard every word. Her face went pale. "You canceled everything. Weeks ago. You knew." I knew enough. She stared at me in disbelief. "You've been pretending. Just like you." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. There were no lies left that could save her. I removed my wedding ring, placed it beside Richard's engagement ring. "I hope one day you figure out why nothing was ever enough." Then I walked away. 3 months later, the divorce paperwork wasn't necessary. There had never been a marriage. Richard never contacted Olivia again. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, he ended their relationship the very next day. She lost both of us. Most of her friends eventually learned what happened after guests shared photos from the interrupted wedding. Her reputation collapsed almost overnight. As for me, I sold the apartment we'd planned to share, took a long vacation, started focusing on myself for the first time in years. One evening, Marcus handed me a drink and laughed. You know, that was probably the most expensive lie anyone's ever told. I smiled. No, it was the cheapest lesson I'll ever buy. He raised an eyebrow. Cheap? You lost almost 85 grand. I looked out over the city lights. No, I got almost all of it back. What I really lost was someone who never truly loved me. And honestly, that's not a loss at all. Sometimes people don't break your heart because they stop loving you. Sometimes they never loved you the way you deserved in the first place. Walking away hurts, but staying with someone who keeps lying to your face hurts even more. And looking back, the wedding that never happened was the best thing that ever happened to me.